Hello guys, welcome back to Beyond the Realms, and today I'm going to do another episode of my Second Chance series, which is a new series that I'm doing where I talk about a film that I did not like the first time around, but I'm willing to give it a second chance to see if my opinion has perhaps changed any on the film. And today is one for a film that I really ripped when I saw in the theater earlier this year, and it is for Texas Chainsaw 3D, which just came out on Blu-ray and DVD recently. And if you saw my review and saw how much that I ripped this film apart, you may be wondering why the hell I even picked this up, because as much as I hated it. I actually picked it up because the extras on the film. There's quite a bit of awesome extras on this, and a lot of them have to do with just the legacy of the franchise in general. And there's also a commentary on here with Gunnar Hansen, John Dugan, Marilyn Burns, where, it's supposed to be really, really great as far as commentaries go, but I've not got to check that out yet. But first off, we're going to have a little drink here. Drinking some Samuel Adams Black Lager. Great stuff. Really good beer. Recommend it. So anyway, I sat down and watched this film again. Watched it in 2D, and there are problems with this Blu-ray. Like one of my Blu-ray players would not play it whatsoever, and I just recently went out and got a new 3D Blu-ray player, and it'll play in that, but the load time takes forever. And then also when you go to watch it in 3D, it had no sound. I can watch it in 3D. The 3D looks really good, actually better than the theater, which isn't surprising because that's usually always the case with Blu-ray looking better than the theater. But there's just no sound to it. So I watched it in 2D, and after watching it, a second time, this film is still not a good film at all. And really, guys, my opinion has not changed on this film too much. Now, I say that because, I've lightened up on my hate for this film. I've been very, very vocal in my displeasure for this film and all of its flaws, all of its problems. And, watching it again, if I can watch it in a mindless way, just kind of turn off your brain and watch the film and not think about the story, you can have fun with it. And especially if you're having a beer night, with some friends, it can be an enjoyable film. And I'm also a Texas Chainsaw Massacre completist, so I had to get this because I really love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. And actually, I was just having a conversation with somebody the other day and talking about how Friday the 13th has always been my favorite franchise out of the 80s, but in recent years, I've found myself going back and watching more of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies more than any other franchise. So, watching it again, yes, there's still, it's all the problems are still there. They're very evident. And, something else that I caught on this time that I didn't really, I guess, pay attention to the first time around is the whole opening scene, where the cop comes in and he's trying to get the family to surrender, and all of a sudden a bunch of rednecks, show up, and they start shooting up the house, killing everybody in it. They burn the house down, and the cop's just like, oh man, this is on you. He doesn't call in any backup help. Nobody gets arrested. The guys just kill everybody, set the house on fire, and leave, in a yee-haw rage. And the cop's just standing there, and he stands there forever because he lets the entire house burn down. Never calls in the fire department. So right away, right out of the gate, you just see the stupid logic of this film. Even people that like this film, I really can't see how somebody could really defend this film, because there's just so much crappy, just idiotic logic to it all the way around with everything. It's almost continuous throughout the film. But it is what it is, and I can enjoy it on a drunk, mindless, fun level, I guess. You know, and it does have some pretty good chainsaw carnage in it with, you know, people getting sawed completely in half. There's a meat grinder scene where somebody gets chopped up. And that scene, you know, it's cool. The kill is cool, although the CG is just horrible right there. But still, the way it ends, you know, it's got the Ginger Snaps 2 style ending to it, which I won't elaborate on that too much to not spoil too much here. But you know, they're talking about how this film they're gonna do 6 sequels to this. Lionsgate is planning 6 sequels. Now, as far as I know, right now, the part 2 has not been greenlit. And I'm wondering if it ever will, because yeah, the film had a decent opening weekend. It ended up making like $23 million total, I think. But you know, it got such poor word of mouth that I really wonder if they'll even do any more of this, or if they'll just, you know, do a whole other reboot or whatever. But you know, with the way the film ended, you know, I thought it was silly. It was silly how they got to that point, and how the lead character Heather started, you know, loving Leatherface and taking after him, and they kind of are becoming killers together or whatever, and that's how it ended. But you know, I'm kind of interested in where they will take it from here. You know, like, will they have that continue on in a sequel if they do one, or you know, where would it possibly go? I mean, there's all kinds of things they could do. I mean, you could basically do anything with this series, and people are going to show up to watch it just because it's Leatherface on the screen again. But yeah, just not a good film. But you know, you could still have fun with it. And I'm not going to slag on anybody who loves the film. It does have its fan base also. I did watch some of the commentary with the director and Daniel Yeager, because I wanted to see how they explain some of this stuff, like the illogic with, you know, Heather being only in her early 20s when she should be 39. You know, some of the scenes with, like, you know, the carnival scene where they totally blew the opportunity there for Leatherface to just saw people up. And, you know, watching that commentary, I watched probably a little more than, well, I don't know, probably a little more than half the film, I guess, with that commentary. It's just a very dry commentary. There's not much they're really saying about it. And all of the things that you would hope that they would point out or talk about, they just don't even talk about them whatsoever. When it gets to the part with Heather at the graveyard, and that's when you realize the film is, in fact, set in 2012, I think. You know, and all the tombstones where people died in the 70s, it was just conveniently covered up by grass. They're totally quiet. The director does not say anything about it. They totally just glaze right over it. So, you know, it was disappointing, because I was really hoping that he would explain some of his logic behind such crappy logic for the film in itself. But yeah, guys, I still rate this film really low. I mean, I think on my review I gave it a 3 out of 10 or whatever. I mean, you know, it is what it is. I would probably maybe bump it up to a 5 out of 10 on a mindless, drunken, just have fun with it, laugh at it type level. You know, and I think in my review before, I'm not exactly sure what I said, but I think that, you know, I said that this was worse than The Next Generation. Well, I have since went back and watched The Next Generation, and no, it's really not. It's really not as bad as that. That's still the worst Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. But you know, that's not really saying a whole lot. But you know, if you love the franchise, if you love Leatherface, you know, check it out. You know, Leatherface, I will say Daniel Yeager did a good job as Leatherface in this. I really liked his portrayal. I really like the more unhinged, mentally challenged type Leatherface as far as you know, portrayals go of him over the years, and Daniel Yeager really pulls that off. And he even says in the commentary that he told Gunnar Hansen time and time again he was trying his best to rip him off, and he does, you know, a pretty good job. He's no Gunnar Hansen, but he did a pretty good job in it. So yeah, guys, it's out on DVD and Blu-ray now. So for second chance on this, you know, I guess, you know, watching it a second time did kind of help. But even leading up to that, I had calmed down with all my hate and rage towards this film. And you know, already kind of looked at it a little bit differently before I bought it, because you know I wouldn't have bought it if I hadn't, you know, even with the extras. So yeah, guys, that is Texas Chainsaw 3D with a really cool lenticular cover, really awesome. You probably can't see, I know you can see that chainsaw flipping there, but it's a really good 3D lenticular cover, which I got at Best Buy. So yeah, guys, that is Texas Chainsaw. Have a good one, guys. I'll talk to you later.